Sun in the houses of astrology, 1st and 7th house. The Sun shows what we boss around. What we get into ego conflicts with Sun shows how we self-express ourselves individually. Sun is independence and entrepreneurship. Sun represents our father. I think even the adopted and stepfathers and placements indicate where we truly show who we are as an individual. Sun is ego and confidence. The Sun really is narcissism in astrology. In this video, if your Sun is in the 1st or the 7th house, then watch the full video because the Sun has an opposite aspect. So both explanations will still apply to you. There is no way I copied this information from anybody. So if it sounds like me, then they must know astrology or got it from me. I have never even heard of anybody referring to the Sun as entrepreneurship or speculative business.
1st house.
Sun in the 1st house is quite simple. But there are many ways to explain this placement. If the Sun is our ego and confidence,
Whereas the 1st house represents our personality, appearance, hairstyles, skin color, how our body looks. If only you stand in front of a full body mirror, who you see is what the 1st house represents, which is yourself and your physical body.
Even the clothes that is on your body.
Sun in the 1st house makes someone very egoistic and narcissistic. Sun in the 1st house is an easy, narcissistic placement to see.
This happens because your ego, confidence, and the way you self-express yourself becomes a part of your persona. Now, how you self-express yourself happens through various ways.
a few examples would be by being someone that is naturally bossy. You want to command and tell strangers what to do. If you're married, this Sun will make ego conflicts happen with the spouse or fiancé because the Sun aspects the 7th house of marriage. A second example would be by being arrogant. Because your personality is based on being the boss and an independent individual, which makes you don't want others telling you what to do, especially strangers in public or your spouse. A third example would be you trying to self-express yourself through your appearance. You use your appearance to stand out. You try looking like a boss or someone that is high class. How you dress specifically, I don't know, but Sun in the 1st house can easily make someone try to dress lavishly, luxuriously. When it comes to hairstyles and maybe even tattoos, you would use those things supplementing your appearance to stand out from the average person. Even someone that wears jewelry, especially around the head and neck area, would have something like Sun in the 1st house. People that feel the need to often wear makeup, wigs, hair extensions would often have Sun in the 1st house. Sun represents our father, so it can make someone look a lot like the father, because the father is influencing your appearance. The influence is genetic, though, because the Sun represents our father's genes. I'm noticing, when it comes to personality, someone with Sun in the 1st house would easily have a personality that is like your biological father's. This boss-like personality is something you inherited from your father. The Sun in our charts helps show where our father is, so we can say that your father is often around you. I wouldn't depend solely on the Sun's placement to know where our father goes or often is. The Sun in the 1st or 7th house will have a lot to do with your personality and revealing who you are as an individual by way of self-expression. What I mean by that is Sun in the 1st house people would be way more extroverted than the average person.
People with Sun in the 1st or 7th house are natural-born leaders.
The Sun now aspects the 7th or is in the 7th house. What I mean by that for beginners is the Sun is giving its energy to the house that is opposite the 1st house, which is again the 7th house. It causes the same effect as if the Sun is originally in the 7th house of your birth chart. Basically, all planets have this opposite aspects except the North Node. Rahu and Ketu are South Node. I don't use the outer planets like Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, but even if I did, I would still utilize this type of opposite aspects with those planets.
The 7th house represents things like interactions with strangers, your spouse, fiancé, the state of your marriage, business partners, legal contracts, etc. Now what the sun does when it comes to business and business partnerships is it makes you want to be independent. You want to be the boss and the person that decides everything. You would find it hard to get along with business partners because ego conflicts would happen a lot. You tell business partners what to do or give them commands and they don't listen. It could be business partners telling you what to do and you don't listen. It's like a constant clash of egos, fighting over who is right. The sun is entrepreneurship and speculative businesses, so the sun in the first or the seventh house is making the type of businesses you do be speculative related. The seventh house is about marketplaces, like supermarkets, selling things online, like a Facebook marketplace, selling things on Amazon, any of those retail websites, which makes someone that has sun in the first or seventh house most likely to do a business where they sell stuff, like doing retail. The seventh house is legal contracts. We even sign contracts for jobs nowadays. The seventh house type of contracts can represent the job contracts, endorsement deals, any sort of contract. Now what sun in the seventh house would do is make an individual want to deal with contracts on his or her own. Let's say in negotiations, like what independent contractors go through a lot. Sun in the seventh house would make someone feel the need to want the contract to be restructured for his or her benefit, which is actually a good thing. When I think of this type of sun and how it pertains to contracts, I think of P. Diddy.
You think I could book that for like the weekend of the 14th when the soundtrack comes out? If so, bump somebody. All right, thanks. All right, love you, man. Bye. I got my MTV out.
Because no way he would go into any negotiations without putting himself first. He probably has sun in the first or seventh house, who knows?
Speaking of independent contractors, this type of sun will make a person more likely to do independent contractorship, entrepreneurship, or freelance work. They want the deciding factor in what they're allowed to do in a contract, so that's how you would get those people to work a 9 to 5. How does sun use its self-expression effects in the seventh house? Well, it's simple. They would brag about their business. They would brag about the contract they just signed, even if it was a bad signing. Most importantly, they self-express themselves through their fiancé, spouse, or marriage. Someone could be the most introverted person, and yet they would still brag about his or her marriage. They would show off who their spouse is. Being married or engaged would bring the true side of who this person really is come to life. In fact, your spouse would see who you really are than whatever you try to portray yourself to be. You know how in the corporate world we like to be professional and act in a fake way? Well, the spouse would get to see the true side of you. Sun in the seventh house actually describes your spouse too. This makes you have a spouse or fiancé that is independent and doesn't want to be told what to do. Obviously, that can be problematic in marriages. Sun in any of these two houses increases the chances of getting married or engaged drastically. One thing is for certain, you'll have pride in whoever your spouse is and would even brag about your marriage. Spouse, sun in the seventh or aspect to the seventh house will describe the type of energy people in public will bring to you. For example, you could be at a grocery store, right, and you'll notice you attract a lot of strangers that are selfish and arrogant. Strangers in public will try telling you what to do, and of course you aren't going to like that.
Follow me on the other apps. I'm out.